Yeah, man, we were in a previous video working with a language model of English as a European Proto-Indo-European language. Specifically, talking about the emphatic that. It means you have to read between the lines in English. This was a little bit different. You had to read between the lines in English, and that's all we got out of it mostly. Unless you figured out how to ask a cool question of it. This model is a little bit different. It's Anglo-Saxon, French Norman, and Gaelic. Not Garlic, Gaelic. And I may have overfitted the last model to arrive at reading between the lines, as I should have modeled it as just a Proto-Indo-European language. But now I'm going to model it as an Anglo-Saxon, French Norman, and Gaelic language to arrive at what? The history. The history of the English language is a fascinating blend of Germanic roots, Romance language prestige, and subtle influences from the Celtic languages, of which Gaelic is a branch. You can think of English not as a pure language, but as a biological hybrid, a Creole-like evolution that thrived on contact with other cultures. I'm going to let you type that in, but there's an Anglo-Saxon foundation as a skeleton. The French Norman is elegance of the English language, and Gaelic or Celtic is an underlying substrate, hidden influence. It's going to have you talking in an accent, man. So let's build a grammar book of English based off of this model. This is not English as a second language. This is more English as a first language. But if you dig it, man, if you dig English as a second language, there's also a Proto-Indo-European model of English for that. What you get is a genetic grammar of English. So you start with the Anglo-Saxon foundation or the skeletal system. And number one is the word order or the core syntax, where English, first or second language, follows a strict subject, verb, object order. This is a direct inheritance from the Germanic branch, providing the bones of our sentences function. This allows English to remain clear even when inflections or word endings are dropped. The dog, which is the subject, bites is the verb, command, object. Number two, there are functional closed classes with a rule. The words that glue language together, like prepositions, conjunctions, and pronouns. In English, there are prepositions of in, on, at, conjunctions of and, but, for, pronouns I, thou, you, he, she, it, are almost exclusively Anglo-Saxon. Number three, strong verbs and a blout. The rule. Many of our most common verbs use internal vowel changes, blout, rather than standard ed. Sing, sang, sung, drink, drank, drunk, write, wrote, written. These are the oldest, most native parts of our grammar. Part two, the Norman French influence, the decorative and intellectual system. This section governs the style and precision of English. And then part three, there are Celtic Gaelic substrates or subtle flow. And the flow is different than the rhythm and cadence. The flow is ing habit. There's a do support, do you go, or go you. So extend this model with rhythms and cadence to arrive at poetic timing. So we have a temporal aspect of poetry now. There's rhythms and cadence, and as far as I can tell, there's a prosody of 3 layers, Anglo-Saxon pulse or the alliterative beat, and in the Anglo-Saxon pulse is percussive. It relies on the heavy stresses of dramatic roots. For a poetic foundation, it provides the punch. Fields of fire flicker in the frost without getting bombastic. That's alliterative. A French Norman influence on this kind of poetic English is the measured measure. When the Normans arrived, they brought the French love for iambic meter, a light beat followed by a heavy one, da-dum, da-dum. The cadence is flowing, courtly, and predictable. It creates the rolling movement of the Shakespearean sonnet. It allows for long, winding, complex thoughts by using multi-syllabic French loan words. You can easily fit them into the iambic da-dum structure. For example, the quality of mercy is not strained. The Celtic substrate of this is the turn and the breath. It's like a limerick. Gaelic poetry, like the Aisley tradition, often features internal rhyme, complex vowel echoes, assonance, and breathier, more atmospheric cadence. This is still cadence. This is still through that temporal aspect. It is liquid and fluid. It prioritizes the sound of the vowel over the impact of the stress. You can tune it. So that's just a temporal. There's a temporal. And extend the model with state. Use finite state machine, dual layered input output for emotional tone, the tone of this model, this poetic kind of romantic thing. Get like Chomsky on this, man. Bevan Chomsky model of Romance English. To integrate state into this linguistic model, we will treat the English language as a dual-layered finite state machine. In this architecture, the input layer processes the historical origins of the words, or the genotype, while the output layer regulates the emotional tone, or the phenotype, based on the state of the speaker writer. The FSM architecture, the Bevan quotient linguistic engine. The state of being. State 0, the hearth, is a Saxon default, high stability, low complexity, direct, blunt, urgent, almost commanding. State 1, the court. The Norman overlay is precise, detached, and intellectual, high complexity, high hierarchy. The liminal, which I'm really into, is Celtic resonance, which is fluidity, high ambiguity, evocative, dreamlike rhythm. So let's build a 100-word vocabulary for this model. Let's build it. Because why build these models? We're working with large language models, then we're working with English, then we're working with maybe a specific way to speak it that is building a 100-word vocabulary for this model of English. So Saxon input A is the hearth, like I said. You have actions, entities, qualities, and connectors for Saxon. Norman, court, all those categories. So, and then connectors. So then we want to use form for this. Use form for this. And I might even provide learning examples for this. How about this? Learning example. Like a GB style greeting. Well, hello, traveler. Greetings, traveler. Like a response to who art thou? Who art thou? Not but a traveler. In this distant galaxy. And the linguistic engine control form says the target state, liminal, fluidity, ambiguity, atmosphere, primary input source is Celtic. Secondary input source is Saxon. So this, since the primary input source is Celtic, we might say that this is a courtly small talk. Might categorize that convo as courtly as courtly small talk. Now, use this model to create an NPC to protagonist conversation about merchandise and goings about the entire realm. Somebody knows about the entire realm. The exchange, the marketplace negotiation, chase out. NPC, the merchant. Well met, traveler. The wind blows cold across the glen today. Keep your hand on your gold. The nights grow long and the wolves roam near the shore. Look here, I hold sharp iron, thick cloaks to keep the wet away, and dry meal for the road. What do you seek? My wares are hard won and true. Protagonist. Your inventory is noted, merchant. I require gear of a more durable nature, as my current mission demands precise movement through the northern reaches. What is the standard price for your finest blades and protective garments? I have a task that necessitates swift travel, and I must ensure my assets are sufficient for the journey ahead. Now, that is, what do you call it? Now that is characters speaking. Let's model narration as a with a proto Indo European model. Your proto Indo European model. So we get English as a second language and then English as a first language. The narration, like almost anyone can understand, even in a translation. Model narration using a proto Indo European framework that's going to build off of all this. You got to shift away from subject verb object rigidity of modern English. And proto Indo European language was modeled by highly inflected morphology or meaning packed word engines and a lot of subject object verb word order. In this model, the narrator acts as a Viator, the seer or weaver of knowledge. The focus is on the root and the augment, the timing. The narration here with the weaver's prologue, which is modeled off this Proto-Indo-European roots. The wind, the breath, the wild field, enclosure, cold-wise covers. The traveler, the driver, the sharp iron, metal, heart-wise bears. Now that sounds like Now that sounds like Old English, Beowulf stuff. The Beowulf style Old English alliterative verse is a natural percussive base layer. To move our narration from the Pi model into a true Anglo-Saxon alliterative model, we have to abandon SOV structure of Indo-European and adopt Caesura-driven line. Cool. Now, like, combine all that and make a 10-page Shrek style comedy featuring Donkey and Shrek. It's like a 10-page, it's what I call a ditty. A ditty is something you could take it and you used to write off of it. The Swampathon, Shrek. An ogre who just wants to eat his swamp rat in peace. Donkey. Talkative donkey who has discovered the internet. Oh, there's Donkey and Donkey. A small, cynical donkey wearing a tiny headset. He is not the donkey. He is the video game donkey. Shrek is stirring a pot of sludge. Donkey is pacing, showing him a phone. Shrek, you gotta see this. There's a new donkey in town. He's talking about Knack, Shrek. He said Knack 2 is a masterpiece. Shrek sighs. Donkey, I don't care about Knack. I'm an ogre. I have layers. I do not have time for platforming icons. Let's see. Let's do an analysis. How much of that script use the combined model? You gotta keep an eye on use the whole shebang. Right with the model. Make a just make something. Not, you know what? Right with the model. How much of that script used the combined model? Use the whole shebang. Right with the model. It says the script functioned as a hybrid state FSM fluctuating between two distinct registers. Shrek layer, Hearth Saxon root. The donkey layer, glitch, liminal, Norman subversion. Total model integration, 70% Saxon, 30% Norman modern absurdist. Prosody, the script lied on a beat drop cadence. So you did wrong. So you did wrong. Don't use a beat drop cadence. You use the model. Understood. I have recalibrated the engine to abandon the modern beat drop comedy rhythm and instead applied this. Now we have what I wanted, the ogre and the jester. The swamp, earth, soil, the solitude, deep wise holds. The ogre, the sludge spot, slow wise stirs. The jester, the portal, shadow wise treads. The ogre, the swamp peace, threat wise views. Shrek, the swamp warden, speaks to the stranger. Why wander you, wild-eyed in wasteland? Go from this glen, or go to your gravesite. Leave me to loneness and loathsome living. Donkey. Pray, peace powerful, patriarch of problems. Define the domain with detail, rich data. Your game state is grim and gray in its draft mode. I judge this journey adjunctier jester work. Okay, now use just first one. The swamp lay still in the gray light, a damp, mossy veil where the old spirits of the water whispered in the reeds. Shrek sat by his fire, a man of simple bones and hard, honest work. He cared not for the world beyond the mud. He sought only the quiet sleep of the earth. Then a flicker of movement, a light, quick step upon the shore. It was the jester, a creature of strange, polished speech stepping into the mist. You walk upon my ground with soft feet. Get you gone, man of strange talk. My house is shut, my heart is cold, and I want but to eat my meal in the dark. My apologies, most noble ogre. I seek only an audit of your domain. I have observed your estate and must provide a formal valuation. Your current management of these facilities is profoundly substandard. There is a notable absence of structural finesse, and frankly, the decorative elements are quite dismal. I know no audit. I know only the tree, the mud, and the sharp bite of iron. Your words are but wind. Leave this path, or I shall cast you back into the mist. How crude. You lack the necessary vocabulary to address a scholar of such high standing. I shall depart, but know this, your rating remains at the lowest tier of this kingdom's registry. I'm down with it. I'm down.